Hello and welcome to the Occult Book Review. Today's book is American Cosmic by Diana Pasulka. UFOs, Religion and Technology is the subheading. Before I talk about this book, I want to mention a book called The Lost Words, a spell book by Robert McFarlane and Jackie Morris. This book is about how nature words are being taken out of children's dictionaries. Books, words like bluebell, acorn, wren, and so on, and they're being replaced by technological terms. It's a very kind of arcanistic idea, but it is happening. The context for me mentioning this is simply because of what American Cosmic is doing in terms of ufology. Here in Ireland, we have our own indigenous culture has lots of accounts that might be framed or reframed as UFO encounters. There are kind of enclosures like fairy forts and things called rats, where people walk in and they meet small beings. They're full of artificial light. They have missing time. All of the kind of trappings that come with UFO kind of motifs, I suppose. The thing is, when you look at Irish indigenous culture, you see that these motifs have parallels in world cultures all around the world, from every indigenous culture that you want to look at. Now, the problem with American Cosmic, for me, just for me, other people love this book, is that it really is trying to take indigenous culture away from people and reframe it into a Christian universal view. The author is a religious writer and academic. How she got into writing this book was because she was researching purgatory and angelic beings, and she realized that there were parallels to ufology, having been told this, I should say, by a colleague. So the book is kind of a road trip in a way. Then she meets lots of famous ufologists, people like Jack Vallee, people she calls ufologists who turn out to be Christian evangelicals when you look them up, and a couple of mysterious characters who, one of whom has a Catholic conversion experience at the end of the book in the Vatican. The author is also involved in movies like The Conjuring, I should add, which have a very kind of Catholic bias and outlook, and the whole movement of the church getting involved in pop culture is very interesting when you compare it to the rise of exorcisms and all of these movies which kind of have a salvation in Christ, I suppose, and Jesus, and the idea of a group of men around 325 AD deciding what God was saying and what should be included for the rest of us. You know what I'm talking about there. So unfortunately, the author has gone off social media, and I hope it wasn't because of people saying unkind things about the book. The book is brilliant. It's a book well worth your time. I just disagree profoundly with it. I think it's very damaging to indigenous Irish culture, as I say. It's the idea that ufology should be linked to Christianity is absolutely crazy. There's an example which I think really is a good analogy for how the book works and how it's wrong to put all of universal possibility through the filter of one human monotheistic religious view. And that is, the author goes out to what's supposedly a site where a UFO crashed, and there's still debris like years and years later, and they're soldiers, security guards, and the author and her two enigmatic companions for the duration of the book wander off through this desert, and they happen to find what they say is what these guys tell the author is a piece of material from a crashed UFO. That's great. Just walk out into the desert and pick up something that could fundamentally change our whole view of the universe and ourselves, of course. They then ridiculously bring it to an airport, and they try to pass it through a conveyor belt with all of the luggage. And I thought, like, my God, how can people believe this? How can they believe? They may have done it, but how can they believe that you would do that with a piece of kind of material that, as I say, could radically change how we view ourselves and the universe? But it does fit into that same shape, you might say, of the book itself, and how something so huge like UFOs, like consciousness outside of the bounds of our physicality and perception, needs to kind of pass through Christianity in order to be validated. So, in that sense, I think it's kind of it's interesting to see that kind of reductionism, if you like. There's nothing really revelatory in the book if you know or if you keep up with ufology. It's if you don't, you may enjoy it even more. As I say, I really enjoyed the book. I just feel that it may be damaging to indigenous cultures who have completely different views about UFOs and the universe. Certainly, if you look at Irish mythology, returning to Ireland again, and our folklore, it was rewritten by Christian monks, and it really changed profoundly how we thought about ourselves. And luckily enough, the kind of remnants of oral tradition mean that we were able to overcome it. We still have our own kind of ideas about fairies and the other world and so on, but other cultures were not so lucky. And I feel that this is an attempt by the church to try and claim ufology. Maybe they're worried about the idea that people see consciousness in a different way, where it's not controllable by the church anymore. I might be wrong about that, but it kind of seems like that to me. So I highly recommend American Cosmic. You'll meet characters like, very prominent ufologists like Vallée and so on. I won't go into that. We'll talk about that another time. So American Cosmic by Diana Pasulka, UFOs, Religion and Technology is the subheading. I highly recommend it, although I don't agree with it and I am a little bit worried about it. See you next time.